They're the ones who raise the bar. The ones dedicated to providing care in the most demanding of circumstances. The ones that understand the healing benefits of kindness and compassion. They're the people of Sarah Bush Lincoln, and they set the bar high. Sarah Bush Lincoln, trusted, compassionate care right here close to home.
Carl is redefining healthcare around you, innovating new solutions and offering all levels of care when and where you need it. Investing in technology and research to optimize healthcare, Carl, with Health Alliance, is always at the forefront to help you thrive.
Meeting the ever-changing healthcare needs of our communities, Paris Community Hospital Family Medical Center is now Horizon Health, with the same ownership, management, providers, and employees. Horizon Health provides patient care and promotes wellness to the communities of East Central Illinois.
At HSHS St. Anthony's Memorial Hospital, we are at work transforming heart care, rebuilding knees and hips, delivering new generations, and focused on providing health care to you. We are HSHS St. Anthony's Memorial Hospital.
Hi, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Being Well. I'm your host, Keanne Armstrong, and today we are going to be talking about prediabetes and those at risk for type 2 diabetes. And joining me today is Emily Hayden, and Emily is with the YMCA. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
So we've got a lot of area to cover here, but and I think it's really interesting. I think it's something that we haven't had on the show much, but I'm glad you're here. I want you to introduce yourself to us and tell me how you're affiliated, and then we'll get into the program.
Sure. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to share with the community just about our health and how we can maybe improve it. My name is Emily Hayden, and I am the Sports and Wellness Senior Program Director at the YMCA. So I oversee both the Mattoon and Toledo locations, and I'm blessed with the opportunity to meet with people on a regular basis to learn about their goals and how I might be of assistance to them in reaching new health goals. So that might be through group fitness, personal training. We also have some challenges that we run every once in a while. I'm blessed with the opportunity to assist people as they look for a healthy lifestyle.
All right, that sounds like a good way to open the show up.
Yeah.
So speaking of staying healthy and knowing your body and knowing what's going on with it, let's just lay the groundwork here on what being pre-diabetic is.
Absolutely. So pre-diabetic means you're at risk for type 2 diabetes, and that would be something that you and your doctor would want to talk about. So hopefully we're getting our annual physicals, and at those we're getting some blood work back with either an A1C score or a fasting plasma. Anything like that could indicate risk for type 2 diabetes. And so we want to make sure that we catch it early, and if we can catch it when we're in the pre-diabetic range, then it's likely that some healthy lifestyle choices could bring us back into normal range.
Okay, so tell me exactly what type 2 diabetes is, because I think there's so many different words that get thrown around that you don't exactly know what is what. So
Sure. Diabetes is honestly a very large cause of death in our community and in our nation. It's not usually what's written on the paperwork, but it's the underlying cause for heart problems, kidney problems, vision problems. It affects so much. So diabetes is when your body's no longer able to create the insulin that it needs to digest and to turn sugars that you consume into a product that your body can absorb.
Okay, so are there signs and symptoms that people can be aware of? What? I mean, I know you're at the YMCA, you're not a physician, but you know
True.
a lot of this information. So, what information do you talk about with people on, knowing whether they're pre-diabetic or what phase they're in with this?
Sure. Unfortunately, with prediabetes, there's very few signs, and that's why we see 90% of folks not knowing that they have prediabetes. So really the best indicator is to get annual blood work done and to make sure that you're visiting with your physician. In diabetes, once you've had it, you may see some vision problems, you may see maybe some moodiness, even changes in your mood and mood swings. Could be various different things, but that would be at the point of diabetes. And our hope is that we're preventative and proactive and making sure we catch it early so that we can make lifestyle change to get back normal.
Okay. Now, is this something that is hereditary? Is it something just strictly our diet is causing? You know, what's the boundaries here? Do we always have to watch what we eat, or is part of our genetics play into part of this too?
Sometimes genetics certainly play a role in it. If you have a history of diabetes in your family, it's not uncommon that's something that you'll be at risk for higher than others. But in the end, it doesn't matter. A healthy lifestyle will still help at least delay the onset, whereas maybe it won't prevent it all the way. But aside from genetics, there's a trend between obesity and at risk for type 2 diabetes. So we obviously are aware of the obesity epidemic in our nation, and so we're now seeing that because of that, many of us are at risk for type 2 diabetes as well. So I would say those two are probably the biggest factors when looking at if they could be at risk.
Okay. So we're here to talk about prevention today, and trying to prevent people from getting type 2 diabetes. And is there a way to prevent becoming pre-diabetic? I mean, what are those things that you talk to people about? What's some steps or some different things that people can prepare for and then work into a lifestyle change? Because it's not something that I would think would happen overnight.
Absolutely not. And I think we're in a very immediate society. We want results right away and we want to see change immediately, but you're right, it is going to take some time. Healthy lifestyle is comprised of both healthy eating and physical activity. So we talk a lot about how can we incorporate those things in our lifestyle. But what's unique about my position at the Y is I can help individuals figure out what that lifestyle looks like for them. So healthy lifestyle doesn't look the same for you as it does for me, and so I have the ability to help hear people and understand more of what their lifestyle is like today, and then make small changes over time to help improve that overall health, and then hopefully prevent risk for type 2 diabetes and a number of other things that could come on set with obesity and other things that we might see.
Okay. Well, kind of walk me through, like, if this was something that was a concern to me, what would be the first conversations that we would have together?
That you and I would have?
Yeah, like say it was me coming into you and I'm saying, you know, I'm concerned that I'm pre-diabetic or heading in that direction. What's some things that I can do? What's some advice that you would give to me?
Sure. I'll turn the tables back on the participant or the person inquiring just to learn more about their lifestyle today and what their goals might be. And sometimes I have people with very specific goals, and other times I have people who aren't even sure where to start. But hearing that from them helps me know how quickly we can pace through some goal setting, or maybe what directions I can point them in for the support. But typically it's a lot of me learning about the participant and their interests first, and then figuring out their stage of readiness. So we pass through stages of readiness as we contemplate things and look at implementing them. Again, assessing where they're at in that will help me be the best resource. So I'm not trying to force anything on anyone, but more just learn what tool feels feasible for you right now.
Okay. Give me some specifics on what those different things are, such as what the tools are that you talk to them about, maybe where they're at on a scale of readiness. Like, what are some real specifics that you know where people are? Like, just lay it out for me. Give me some real detailed information.
Okay, sure. So healthy eating might be something that we talk about, and they'll share with me what healthy eating or what their eating lifestyle is today, and I'll ask them what healthy eating maybe looks like to them. And oftentimes it's maybe a misconception of thinking we have to eat salads all the time, or we have to only eat chicken. And so we can just look at what food they're eating today and figure out how many calories that is and how many fat grams that is, and then look at what are some ways we can slightly lower this for next week. so that we're on a better track with our fuel and making sure that it's more wholesome food that our body can absorb. So again, I start where the participant is. I'm hesitant to give them a list of here are all the foods I would recommend eating, or this I cannot say at all, this is how many calories you should eat. And I would not say that because again, I feel like that's where we come across as dictating somebody what healthy living looks like for them. But I would rather them decide, okay, this is something I know I can change, and then together we figure out what that change is. So I know that's not super specific because it's so very different for each person. And then physical activity too, we just hear what physical activity they're doing now and set one small goal for the next week. Maybe that's 60 minutes total over the course of the whole week. And we can set a very specific schedule based on their schedule. If the noon hour works, okay, we'll plug in some noon hour 15-minute walks or whatever it might be.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that if you go to your physician and you get told you're pre-diabetic, and you're thinking, gosh, can I turn this around? Yeah, it can be turned around from what I'm hearing from you, but we need to educate ourselves on how to, move backward instead of moving forward to that next step where you do become diabetic. Because if you do become diabetic, is it reversible then, or do you have to do it when you're in that pre-stage?
The term being diabetic won't be reversed if you have diabetes. However, you can certainly make lifestyle changes that can help you manage it better with minimal medication. So there's certainly ways to manage it. I don't want people who have diabetes to feel like, well, there's no sense in taking care of myself now, because that's certainly not the case. But that term will always stay with you. So it will always be something that you've been diagnosed with.
Okay. So there is a program. There's lots of different things out there for people to follow in different ways for people to get the information on how to change their lifestyle of eating and exercising and things like this. And it's really important. So, I mean, I think it could be confusing to folks, like, where do I start? So that's where you come in and you help them achieve these starting points. And then there's goals.
Yes.
So talk to me about some maybe successes, some struggles that happen along the way, and what people can expect.
Sure. Within the program?
Sure.
Yeah. So we do have a YMCA's diabetes prevention program that is a great resource for those who are at risk for type 2 diabetes. And if in our conversation we find that that's a support system that would be beneficial, then we'll certainly make that connection. So there are two goals of the program, and that is for participants to achieve 7% weight loss of body weight in the first 6 months of the program, and then also to gradually increase physical activity to 150 minutes per week. And again, that's done over the course of a 6-month time frame. So we set those benchmark goals, and those aren't specific. They are specific to the participant. So we'll talk in this setting, maybe we'll talk about ways to eat less fat. And each participant will look at their lifestyle today and identify a way they can do that for next week. And then when we meet back together, we'll share our successes and our barriers, because barriers are real, and talking through how do we overcome that this next week, and how do we set a new goal that will be achievable so we can feel success.
Okay. Well, speaking of eating less fats, and I mean, it's really difficult. You get yourself in a pattern, and you're hungry, and you don't have the things prepared, that you should be eating and things like that. So what are some real life-changing tips that you talk to people about that we can give to our viewers today?
Absolutely. We talk about these in our sessions. We encourage our participants to brainstorm. So I'll share some that our participants have already come up with. A lot of them have found that eating in and cooking at home has helped them to control how much fat or sodium or whatever it might be is in their meal. So they've felt successful knowing that everything that they're putting into their body, they know exactly what it is. So I'd say eating at home is great. However, realistically, for some of us, eating at home, whether it's time or the number of people we're cooking for or the simple cost of it, it might be a barrier. So eating out isn't a bad thing. It would just be more educating ourselves of what's in the foods that we're eating. So a lot of our restaurants, even around here, have menus with calories and fat grams and all that information. So just being mindful of those calories and knowing that that's impacting our weight. So if you're debating between 2 meals at a restaurant, maybe glance at that calorie, and there could be an amazing difference between the two that man, it'd be great to save a couple hundred calories and not feel like I'm restricted.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's cool how becoming more informed, in settings like that, and actually recognizing that information is out there is key as well, because a lot of times, you may not read everything, you're just seeing the titles of what's on a menu, but there's more information there, and it's good to pay attention to those types of things.
Yes, I'll share one of our sessions. We talk about eating out, and we had our participants identify terms on a menu that made them think high fat, so creamy or Alfredo or whatever it might be, and just helped them associate that these are really appetizing things to hear about, but are they helpful for our long-term goals? Is this short-term meal helpful for our long-term goal? And making that decision, and sometimes it is. We don't want ever people to feel restricted, because that's not a long-term lifestyle. But just making that decision one step at a time and making it more of a habit to make a decision that's conducive to our long-term goals.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of times I think people do think, well, I just get to eat rabbit food, like vegetables, fruits, and that's all I'm going to get. And like you said, chicken. I mean, people I think do feel restricted a lot of times, and maybe that prevents them from, setting those goals and moving forward. But it's educating people that there's more out there and more options and ways to find ways around these barriers that I think is really intriguing and interesting. So, I mean,
absolutely.
What you're doing I think is cool, and I'm glad that we're talking about this today.
Me too. You're right. A lot of the barrier is when they're told exactly what it looks like, what healthy living should be, and they feel discouraged because they're so far from that, or that feels too restrictive for them. Our program is very much the opposite. It's very much, who are you today? And here's one tip, how does that apply to you? And I can just assure you that the success in that has been so fun to watch this group of what used to be strangers sharing all these successes and barriers together and high-fiving each other when they're successful, and just being real with each other and having those friendships and accountability to make those decisions.
Yeah, and knowing you're not the only one.
Absolutely.
I think that makes a big difference, because a lot of times we may feel isolated, and thinking, gosh, why is it me? But then when you share that information, it sounds like there's a group setting, but also maybe one-on-one time. How does this work?
The program is run in a group setting. We'll have 8 to 15 individuals. They all start the session at the same time, and then it runs over the course of a year all together. But our lifestyle coach can meet with people individually outside of class or stay behind and touch base with things. A lot of the individualization happens still in the group setting, because they're given time to make that application to their own life. But then they share that with the group, which adds a layer of accountability that, too, some people are missing. When they don't have somebody to share their successes and barriers with, the vision of healthy living sometimes gets lost. So again, for that long-term piece, we want to help people instill that accountability within themselves eventually, but it takes time.
Yeah, it does. Like we said earlier, it doesn't happen overnight.
It doesn't.
We want that instant gratification.
We do. Our society operates that way anymore. But I feel like that's where we sometimes see a little bit of the weight loss, weight back on, weight loss, weight back on. We're looking for something sustainable, something beyond the next year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, something that's a lifestyle change.
I'd like to reiterate how we started this program. I think, you said people die from diabetes. So, I mean, doing this and making this lifestyle change could really be a life-saving measure. So.
Absolutely. That, and, for a lot of people, restraints for healthy living are either financial or time. And I just assure them that either way, they will either have to make time for their health today and money for their health today, or they'll have to make time and money for their illness later. And man, I would much rather be investing in my health and enjoy my kids and grandkids than to have to spend that time healing myself from something that I've made decisions to be there for.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We've talked about knowing about how much fats and sodium and sugars. So are these the things that people really need to be mindful of when they're pre-diabetic and trying to, stay away from going into the area of becoming type 2 diabetic? I mean,
Sure.
Are those really the the majority of what people need to pay attention to?
That's a good question, and that's up for kind of a dietitian to decide specifically for a person. However, through our program, our main goal is weight loss, which in turn will typically bring those numbers down. So we look a lot at how many fat grams we're consuming and how many calories we're consuming, but we don't ever dictate how many it needs to be. It's just looking at where we're at today and what's one small goal next week. And that's often misunderstood because with diabetes we think, oh, we can't eat any carbs. And that's true for diabetics. They need to follow the guidelines of their doctor. For those who are at risk for type 2 diabetes, if we can just get a little bit of weight loss, then we'll find ourselves successful. So we don't always count sugars necessarily, but just more of what's going to help us lose some weight.
Okay. Yeah. You mentioned earlier some of the information that you shared with us came from some of the people that you work with. What are some like memorable moments or different things that the folks have said going into a program such as this and thinking about the lifestyle changes and the things that they've done? What sticks out in your mind?
They are endless. We have one participant who just shared with us that she's been on blood pressure medication, 2 medications for blood pressure for over 40 years, and she is now off both medications after losing about 10% of her body weight. So she was well beyond our goal. So she's just walking around with so much energy now, and it's changed her mood, it's changed. She raises goats, and so she's able to do her chores at home more easily. So she's been a huge success story. We've had a couple others who have tried a number of programs in our community and online, and nothing's really ever stuck. And they have just shared with me that this isn't something that's just a year program for them. It is a long-term thing, and they've gotten their husbands and their wives on board. So it's just been a family affair for some, making sure that their family's healthy beyond that. But you know, we're reaching a variety of people, some working, some retired, and so all the feedback is very different depending on where they're at in their lives. But all of them just feel successful each week. And I think that when it's a slow process, that's really important because, again, we want that immediate gratification. And one small step is good gratification that we should be hearing. Yeah,
absolutely. And like you said, you talk about ways to get around barriers and things like that. So, I mean, along the struggles, you know, there's people there as a support system. So I think that's good to know.
Most certainly. That's probably one of the most unique parts about the program is, first of all, that it's very individualized, but secondly, there becomes this group of people that are now holding you accountable and want to hear about you and know who you are. And again, being very real with barriers because it's a thing and that's what prevents us from being successful. So let's face them head on and find our way around them and be successful in that and share in those successes.
Yeah, for sure. Now, is this something that only the Y is offering? Is this, you have to be a member of the Y? I mean, what's some information here and how to get more information about this type of program or resources on pre-diabetes and prevention?
Sure, that's a great question. It's a YMCA program because we are the ones who are funding it. However, it's completely regardless of membership. So this is a community-based program, which means that our members have access to it, but very equally the public has access to it. The other neat thing about that is it doesn't even run inside the Y walls. So our first cohort was at the Mattoon Public Library. And here in August, we're going to launch over here in Charleston. So I'm very excited to get the Charleston community on board and give them this resource without having to commute over to Mattoon. So it's very flexible in where we run it, and again, very open to the community. So lots to learn on it, lots to think about, but if people visit our website at mattoonymca.org, they can learn more. But I would encourage them regardless, just give me a quick call. Even if they're not interested in the program, but just seeking advice. My hope is to be a hub for people who aren't sure where the first step is or where the next step is, and helping point them a direction, whether within the Y or something in the community that they can find as a resource and help them be successful long term.
All right. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on the show today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us.
I appreciate it.
I think this is an important topic to get out there for people, something that maybe they don't know they're struggling with, and you know, if they are, then and there's resources in our
Yes.
community to reach out to. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us for this episode. We hope that it has been educational and informative, and we'll see you next week.
At HS St. Anthony's Memorial Hospital, we are at work transforming heart care, rebuilding knees and hips, delivering new generations, and focused on providing health care to you. We are HS St. Anthony's Memorial Hospital.
Meeting the ever-changing healthcare needs of our communities, Paris Community Hospital Family Medical Center is now Horizon Health, with the same ownership, management, providers, and employees. Horizon Health provides patient care and promotes wellness to the communities of East Central Illinois.
Carl is redefining healthcare around you, innovating new solutions and offering all levels of care when and where you need it. Investing in technology and research to optimize healthcare, Carl, with Health Alliance, is always at the forefront to help you thrive.
They're the ones who raise the bar. The ones dedicated to providing care in the most demanding of circumstances. The ones that understand the healing benefits of kindness and compassion. They're the people of Sarah Bush Lincoln, and they set the bar high. Sarah Bush Lincoln, trusted, compassionate care right here close to home.